Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality back with you here today to go over some fun information I found out that kind of would fall into the category for me of, well, of course you didn't find anything. So we're back with Red State, and the article is called, Turns Out the FBI's Counterterrorism Investigations into Parents Protesting Indoctrination Went Nowhere. And again, I will reiterate, because of course it didn't. So let's go into the article. It says, now that Republicans are in control of the House of Representatives, there have already been revelations showing how the federal government was weaponized against Americans for having the wrong political views. Earlier this week, GOP lawmakers published a report showing that the FBI had no legitimate basis for conducting counterterrorism operations against parents who showed up at school board meetings to protest inappropriate material being presented to children behind their backs and onerous COVID restrictions. And I should say, this is earlier this week. This article is from March 25th, so it would have been obviously the week before that. So I just want to at least give a time frame on that. It says, now it has been revealed that the FBI investigated a number of these parents and came up with a whole lot of nothing. That's quite possibly the least surprising news I've ever heard. So the Washington Free Beacon reported, House Republicans revealed Tuesday that the FBI opened 25 preliminary investigations based on tips to the National Threat Operations Center. 6 of the probes were assigned to the FBI's Counterterrorism Division, according to the report from the Weaponization of Government Subcommittee. The report says the FBI opened just one full investigation out of the 25 preliminary investigations of school board threats and did not identify any legitimate threats against school board members. Of course there weren't any. I mean, people are basically complaining. Like, you show up at a school board meeting to say, my kid should not be seeing material that is specifically and purposely marked as being for adults only. And when you say, I don't think that's a good idea, you're calling the FBI on those people? Like, why aren't you in agreement with that? Because that's a bad thing. Anyway, Republicans allege that the Biden administration used counterterrorism laws to suppress parents' criticism of school board policies regarding classroom curriculum and coronavirus mandates. These allegations stem from findings obtained through an FBI subpoena, which was the focus of a House hearing on Thursday entitled Free Speech, the Biden Administration's Chilling of Parents' Fundamental Rights. The report from the committee, led by Rep. Jim Jordan of Ohio, states the administration's goal seems to have been silencing the critics of its radical education policies, adding that the weaponization of law enforcement powers against American parents exercising their First Amendment rights is dangerous. Yes, of course it is. Now, let's also just get rid of the Department of Education. Like, just gone. Let's just Thanos snap it out of existence, please. Along with a lot of other departments in the government. But, it says the weaponization of law enforcement powers against American... Yeah. So, as we all know, during COVID was kind of the wake-up call for a lot of parents. Even when I was a kid, you sent your kid to school, your kid did what they did there, teachers taught, kids learned, you came home, and you didn't really look into what your kids were learning too much. And that's that's not a knock against the parents of the time or anything, certainly not my parents, but, you just really didn't pay attention to it. And then all of a sudden with COVID, when kids were all at home, you have your parents, you're looking over your shoulder, you're a kid at school, and they started going, what the hell is going on here? And there's even a neighbor of my parents that, not to get too specific for keeping their identity private, but a neighbor of theirs is actually a teacher in high school, and he was basically forced into like doing the whole DEI thing. They told him, I think it was something, and I'm sure my mom will, if she listens to this, will correct me and tell me, and I'm not sure I have it entirely right, but they had the genderqueer book in the libraries of this particular high school, and while it's high school and that's different than kids, he was a Catholic, I'm pretty sure he was Catholic, I was a pretty devout Christian, and he was just like, that shouldn't be there. And for high schoolers, I'd say if you're 18 or above, yeah, it's fine if it's there. I mean, that is the age that you legally turn an adult. But before that, no. You're still basically a child, even though you're a teenager, you're still a kid. And again, I come back to the point of like, any parent complaining about that should actually be hailed as a hero, because that's something they should be complaining about, because they're looking out for their kids. And I know all the critics of this tend to be like, it's right-wingers. It's not. Okay, it is absolutely not just right-wingers. There are many liberals that are on the same side as people on the right on this one. Okay, the only people who tend to be sticking up for this are just leftists, like the most far left people you can possibly imagine. So let's continue on with the article. It says GOP lawmakers invited conservative parents groups such as Parents Defending Education and Moms for Liberty to testify as witnesses. These groups have been on the front lines of combating school mask mandates and far leftist curricula. So the FBI's investigations followed Attorney General Merrick Garland's, let's fire that guy, memo in October 2021, which created a federal task force to investigate threats against school boards. The memo was in response to a request from the National School Boards Association, which referred to parents as potential domestic terrorists. Yes, you're a terrorist if you want your child to actually learn things, not leftist indoctrination. My God. Can we stop using these completely overblown words to describe very simple things that aren't actually those things? I mean, Jesus H. Republicans have questioned the Biden administration's coordination with the association on the letter. This is the Washington Free Beacon reported that the association's head provided a copy of the letter to the White House before releasing it to the public. The report also notes that Education Secretary Miguel Cardona appointed National School Boards Association President Viola Garcia to the National Assessment Governing Board, which tracks student progress on standardized tests days after the letter's release. We're doing so well with our testing in our country. Let's, just fire everybody in that education department, please, like tomorrow. According to the Republican report, the FBI found no increase in legitimate threats against school boards. Of course, there weren't any. Nevertheless, Democrats and the administration still maintain concerns over growing threats from conservatives. Well, the threat is just, if you keep teaching my kids leftist indoctrination and things that are pornographic or, anything along those lines, then yeah, they're going to say that's not good and we don't want that, and there's nothing wrong with them saying that. Conversely, if you're on the left, if you're a leftist right now and you heard the school board is teaching your kids about loading guns and everything like that, and they're playing with guns in school, and they had to go to the library and there were things about how to handle gun properly, you'd probably be pissed about that, and you'd have every right to stand up at a school board meeting and say, I don't like this, and then if you didn't like it, run for the school board and try to get on there to try to change things. That's just how things work, okay? But would anybody consider you a domestic terrorist because you're going, I don't like that, and that's the extent of what's happening? No, because that's stupid, and that's, again, taking words and using them incorrectly. So back to the article. It says, according to the report, the FBI interviewed a mother who made a statement at her school board meeting saying, we are coming for you. That's just the saying anybody says. Okay, that doesn't mean that person is going to be we're actually going to show up at your house and punch you. It's not that, okay? We're coming for you could very easily mean we're going to take your job, okay? A tipster filed a complaint against her, alleging that she was part of a right-wing moms group, which they probably had absolutely no idea of, and was also a gun owner, which, again, they probably didn't know about that, I would guess. The mother, a member of Moms for Liberty, never mind, that would be my right-wing moms group, I spoke too soon, told the FBI that her comments were in response to the school district's mask mandates and were meant to be a threat to vote the school board members out of office, because of course it was, and any person with at least a half of an amoeba's worth of a brain cell would have understood that. So there's another FBI field office opened an investigation into a father who was against mask mandates. Republicans claim that a tipster said the man fit the profile of an insurrectionist. What the hell does that even mean? And has a lot of guns and threatens to use them. Again, we're just making shit up here. However, the person who filed the complaint later admitted to the FBI they had no specific information of any crimes or threats made by a father, because of course they didn't. Okay, again, this is people acting hysterically, especially leftists. They're always hysterical about things that are it's almost like if you say to them you actually say to them I'm going to take your job, they're going to be like, oh, so you're going to come to my place with a weapon and try to do something. It's I didn't say that. I just said I'm going to take your job. That's it. What? So very interesting that the tipster used the word insurrectionist to describe one of the parents in question. If I didn't know any better, I'd be tempted to believe that this person was merely a political actor trying to target people who disagree with their politics. I would 100% agree with that. And maybe by using the word insurrectionist, the person who used or made the tip was trying to make the FBI go, oh, wait, he's a what now? And have them go after this person. Thinking that they were at a certain date back in January a few years ago. So this article concludes with, if this report is any indication, any proceedings from the Weaponization of Government Subcommittee should be quite revealing. If the Biden administration is wielding the power of the state against everyday Americans for espousing the wrong political views, it should be one of the greatest scandals in recent history. Of course, it says, based on what we already know, we can be sure that these revelations are just the beginning. So yeah, if it's probably one of those things that's going to come out, and Fox News or any other news organization that's on the right will report on it, and you'll CNN and MSNBC might as well be playing crickets about this entire thing, because that's just the way this stuff goes at this point. Because yeah, I mean, I think we've seen many instances already that the Biden administration is using its power against people who are accused of wrongthink. It's a very communist thing. Okay, it's a very far left thing. All right. So if we're not careful about this, things are going to go bad really quick. Like, I never thought at any point in my life until the last couple of years that I'd be around to see the end of the United States. And the more stuff like this happens, the more I'm coming to the conclusion that I very well could be alive for that. And my God, do I not want to be. I do not want to be around, but I don't want to leave it for any descendants of mine either. I want this country to be whole, and to do stuff like this is wrong. And if it comes out that this is happening, our Congress needs to go after the president. And this is just a violation of your basic human rights. Anyway, sorry to end it on such a down note, but the article here is linked below. Of course, I will always recommend Red State, so go check them out as well. Leave any comments you may have. Share your thoughts with me. Like, share, and subscribe. Talk to you soon. Bye.